Hey guys, this is chapter 3 of the purity section of the book. The title is Treat the Source, Not the Symptoms. Let me give you just a few key principles here that make sure you cover. Number one, the idea of maintaining biblical purity beginning at its source in the mind. Number two, this concept of making sure we understand that having a thought is not a sin. That's just the introduction of the temptation. The key is, what do we do with it at that point? Do we dismiss it or we do it? Third is, for us as guys, confession can be really tough. And that's actually the easy part. The hard part is figuring out the why behind the what. So that whole concept of of figuring out our whys behind our what is really key. And I do this, but why do I do this? And there's a reason that motivates us in sin. And sometimes the same sin for two different guys can look the same, but actually the motivation can be completely different. The why is very different behind the what. Number four, confession is not an end, but simply a beginning to the process of restoration. So sometimes we think confession is, it's over, it's out, and really that's where it starts. It's getting the symptoms out so we can really start to find answers. And a really key thing to a small group staying strong for many years together as guys is not just confessing sin, but helping each other do something about it to maintain victory over it. That's a really key thing. Responding and receiving discipline from God and from each other. Number five is this concept of God's disciplining us as sons and allowing that to occur in a positive manner and receiving it in a positive manner as God does it, as we help each other to trade shame for grace, specifically talking about Hebrews 12, 7 through 9. And then lastly, in the points of this chapter would be that Jesus can and wants to literally change our minds, like change our thoughts. That's a really key aspect of this chapter. Now let me give you the discussion questions for chapter 3. Number one, why is it so important we understand that the introduction of a thought to our minds is not the sin, but rather the entertainment of an invitation into it is the sin? Question number two, why is confession to another person often such a difficult thing for us to do? Question number three, discuss the why behind the what concept, and that's found on page 37. Question number four, why does stopping the actions in something not necessarily change the heart? Question number five, why do you think so many guys that follow Christ will beat themselves up over their sin and struggle to forgive themselves? What is that about? What causes that in us? Question number six, how can you deal with the struggle of shame and guilt in your group and how you handle confession and accountability with one another when one of your members of your group is obviously feeling real regret and shame and guilt over something? What are you going to do with that? How are you going to deal with that to help each guy through it? Question number 7. Talk through the bullet point statements about Jesus that start on page 40. Question number 8. Discuss your own view of God's grace in your life. How do you see His grace? Specifically dealing with your level of acceptance and understanding of grace. And what do you need to do to help get it straight, get it biblical, to improve your view of grace? Question number 9. Read and discuss Romans chapter 8, verses 5 and 6. And the last and final question, in your group, how can you take your confessions to each other into the process of restoration to actually change your minds and your behavior over time?